Hello and welcome to another episode of An Echo of Glory. It's cheery here today. I promise you. Welcome back. Long time no see. It's James Robbins. Hello.
Thanks for having me back.
I love the bucket hat.
You're welcome.
Repping the Echo merch.
Got to rep the merch, get some sales. Something to give us some joy at these dark times.
There's another reason for it.
Your hair's a bit floppy, need a trim.
At least you've got hair. Good for you.
Darren Anderton hair from like the 90s going on. I like it.
It is the 90s boy band curtains.
Yeah.
It is Anderton. Let's see it. Go on.
It's probably ruined by the bucket hat.
Very
Anderton.
It's very
Anderton.
Maybe I'll get if anyone wants to get me a Anderton shirt from the 90s,
You'll keep it
feel
like
free.
that.
I'll keep it. I can turn up to parties and do lookalike contests if you like.
Well, you'd be injured and wouldn't be able to go if you're doing a Darren Anderton. You have to pull out.
I'm probably as fit as him after a few injuries as well.
And Gary Diamond's here.
Hello.
How are you?
I'm all right. Interesting weekend.
We'll get into it. You see, Flanners, James says, I had that hairstyle as a kid. We all had curtains as a kid.
I didn't.
That's true. You
I had an afro.
I'm just ticking off the old hairstyles that I can. I had a mullet for a bit. That was that was good fun.
Yeah.
It was so silly.
Yeah,
It was great. Now it's the boy band curtains.
Okay. Well, yeah, as you say, why you can.
Maybe we could put a poll up instead of anything about Spurs of what hairstyle I'll do next.
The poll is how many points from the next 4 league games. LOL is winning with 67%. Up to 3, 20%. Up to 6 is 7%. And 9+ is 7%. Some people haven't taken their medication this morning. So, a little bit of club news. 2 wins and a defeat to talk about. 21's won at Stoke. Some wonderful play on the wing. I'm sure everyone's seen that little clip of Luca Williams-Barnett.
And Tin and Thompson.
Yeah, and Thompson on the left-hand side for, I think it was the first goal. That was lovely stuff. And then the 18s beat Norwich. The women Spursed their way through yesterday. Really poor performance at Liverpool. 0-0. I actually checked my phone I forgot they were playing, actually. And I checked my phone and they went, oh, it's injury time. I said to my dad, I was having lunch with my dad, and I said, it's 0-0 after 93 minutes. I went, oh, yeah, it's 1-0 to Liverpool, and then it's 2-0 to Liverpool. They conceded 2 goals in injury time.
I did very similar. I saw it was 0-0, then was scrolling through Twitter, and it was like, I lost today, 2-0.
What?
When did that happen?
Yeah, Liverpool's first win of the season as well. But they've been all right, so these things happen. Since the last pod, Bergvall injury confirmed. Glad they got him to jump up and down and run around the pitch. He needs an operation.
They did that with Kulusevski.
They did that with Kulusevski, who shouldn't have been playing in that game anyway.
Because we were sacrificing league games at that point. So why was Kulusevski playing? It's a bit bizarre. But yeah, what is going on? Yeah, I remember, this goes back even to when Harry Kane used to play for us, and he would sort of go down with ankle ligaments, but get up, and he was trotting around the place.
I think that was more of a Harry Kane problem than a Spurs problem. That man wanted to play through torn muscles, broken legs. Like,
do you know the first time I saw it?
I like the effort.
The first time I saw it, and this is just, I don't know if this is like just with every club. The first time I actually saw a serious injury where the player got up and tried to play on, and then next thing was out for years, and career end was Gaza in the cup final.
Oh God, yeah.
Right? Like, he went down and got up. Stuart Pearce scores that free kick. They kick off. It gets passed back to Gaza, who takes one touch and collapsed.
Yeah.
Like, it's just a recurring thing with Tottenham. It doesn't matter who the medical team is. Like, our players just get up, jump around a little bit, and then go, oh no, actually I'm serious.
Yeah, I was thinking it probably happens at all clubs, but you obviously notice it at yours. But Bergvall is going to be out now for another 2 to 3 months.
Real shame.
It looks very innocuous.
Really? I don't know how you've got such a bad injury from what looked like a tap. I know that these guys are strong, and when you slow it down, but at that speed it's going to hurt. But it seemed a really weird one. But as Adam Nathan said, with his NFL hat on, not his bucket hat, a high ankle sprain is not a good one.
That's why I did that to my left ankle playing football, and they were like, doesn't heal without surgery. You've done 60% of the ligament. And I'm not a professional athlete, so I did not get the opportunity to have surgery. And you can live with it, but you doubt you're going to play professional football.
So it doesn't heal unless you have an operation?
If it's the same ligament I did, which was a high ankle ligament tear, then yeah, it doesn't heal. At a certain point, you have to have surgery or do loads of physio and just mitigate it. But at that level, it's just not the case.
But he's had the surgery, and apparently the other thing that Adam Nathan was saying was that in the NFL, this high ankle surgery is now a big thing, and they come back really quite quickly.
Okay.
So, good luck to him.
Yeah, good luck to him. And then links to Andy Robertson. I know that certainly divided people on WhatsApp groups and social media. For me, I get it. He's 32. Well, he's 31 until he's 32. But he's nearly 32. And he's not a buzzwords, progressive pass and all this stuff. I get that. But he's a player who's won Champions Leagues, Premier Leagues, and okay, there are other players like that out there. For me, I never thought it was going to happen, and I don't think it will happen, especially with Gomez injured. I was surprised Liverpool were even thinking of selling him until the summer. We need to buy more players like that in terms of mentality.
Have we not done enough?
No.
Have we not getting Pellegrini and Gallagher enough? And Romero's enough?
Yeah, but you don't like. I think you're. If you don't mind me saying, you're not a huge fan of Pellegrini or Gallagher. Maybe more Gallagher than Pellegrini, but someone. I get there's more to football than just being able to shout and want to win football matches, but you also need to be able to pass. But Andy Robertson's a good enough player.
Let me throw this back to you, because I think it was you who said to me, quite surprising stat last week or the week before, you said that this Tottenham squad between them individually have the second most medals, third most medals in the Premier League. And you're sat there saying we need more mentality like Andy Robertson. I disagree with that. This is a squad that has a huge number of medals between them. They are winners, as you said. Romero, World Cup winner. Gallagher's been there, done it. You know, I don't. Simons has at such a young age achieved a hell of a lot in his career so far. I don't see the need to revert to the early days of Enoch and Levy, where you're buying a past at Sheringham, Ferdinand, Gus Poyet on massive wages with zero return. Like, I can understand if Andy Robertson is somebody that really improves the squad in the first team, then fine, money doesn't really matter. But you've just signed this kid from Brazil. Now, none of us know how he is or what he's going to be. No, of course not. But, I just sort of feel like, is Andy Robertson the answer? If he came, fully back it, get it. But I don't subscribe to the theory that we need these players for mentality.
In isolation, I had no problem with it. Ben Davies injured, and I actually quite liked the performances of Ben Davies when he was fit. Playing.
Well, it provided balance to the team.
He was also a smart head, knows when to...
Well, his tackle on Burnley wasn't very smart.
No, it wasn't. But knows when to come inside and invert, knows when to go on the outside. He gets his head up, he plays passes. You're not going to get like world-class performances out of Ben Davies.
Yeah.
But it was a left footer who knew where to be at the right time.
Yeah.
And Robertson, look, fine. Mentality is really good. It's not a problem with the players per se I've ever had. Actually, no, I do think Pellegrini is crap. All he does is tackle. He does nothing else. If you think that's a good player, then that's just old English mindset of, he gets stuck in, like, whatever. I love that too, but it's not what we need. Gallagher, again, isolation, good player, great number 8. We have 12 of them, not needed. And then a left back. We actually do need a backup left back. Do we need an aging Andy Robertson when there might be someone you could get in to be here for a long term? Probably not. But in isolation, I was fine with the Andy Robertson signing. Honestly, I was. But it's another symbol of us seemingly doing the wrong thing, more so than the individual players we're discussing. Like, the players themselves don't really matter. It's what we're not doing.
So what kind of left back would you want us to buy? Because I don't think he's 32, not 39.
Again, as I said, I'd be fine with Robertson. If we were buying a left back, maybe someone like Thiat.
Robinson?
Thiat or Robinson. Robinson, good left back. Peak age would be good. Thiat, who's left centre back and left back, which we still don't have a left-footed centre back up at all.
Yeah.
Nathaniel Brown's at a struggling Frankfurt's side, and he's very talented. There's names.
I wasn't a fan of him when we played him.
I mean, Bundesliga clearly is not looking the best right now.
I'd rather buy Premier League players at the moment. I'd rather go shopping in the Premier League than abroad.
Truefair at Bournemouth.
Yeah, good.
There's options, but like, again, Robertson was fine. It's more the fact that we're not buying midfield that we need.
Yeah, I get that.
No, yeah, exactly that.
All right, James, before we get onto the Burnley game, quickly I want to ask you, you haven't been on for a while. Remind me your thoughts when we appointed Thomas Frank. Have they changed? Where are you now on Thomas Frank?
Massively changed. I was very pro the Frank signing as our coach. I didn't necessarily think the next coach we got after winning the Europa League, after Ange, would be the guy that takes us to the stratosphere. But I really thought we needed someone that was, I think the phrase we often say, and on here and in the WhatsApp, is an adult in the room. I thought, come in, steady the ship, sort the defence out a little bit, but hopefully he was on an upward trajectory with his management, and the football he would continue to make those developments. He's got backroom staff that are highly thought of, who he doesn't seem to listen to when he's on the bench. And now I don't want to see his face ever again. He looks like an awkward PE teacher trying to manage a Premier League football club.
It's so
and
true. He's lost the classroom.
He's absolutely lost. Oh, he's a substitute teacher going into year 9. It is a nightmare. And it's seeing some screenshots on the way in, and it was just reminding me of Nuno. Fair enough, don't buy the midfielder because no one's in there. It's just a circle around the pitch.
Yeah.
And I feel like I'm in a nightmare. It's just never ending. And start of the year, I got to go to a Como match and an Inter match across a weekend. It was so good. It was so nice to sit in stadiums and watch some quality football. Inter are just different gravy.
Yeah, they were shocking against Arsenal.
Fun.
The Como are a lot of fun.
Forget them playing English sides. Forget them playing the best Pulis side there's ever been. Watching them play, I think it was Bologna, they were so good. And then the week I got back, we were linked with an Udinese centre back, and I watched Como Udinese. I thought, don't buy anyone from that team. My days, no, they're all 6 foot and can't move. It was a nightmare. But Como, really nice.
Did the guy play that we were Paz?
No, Paz came on as a sub, and I was devastated. However, I did have a love affair with Maxence Kakare in midfield.
Yes, I watched him play the week after that on TNT.
Really good midfielder. Probably too short for the Premier League as it is now, but he gets stuck in. I thought he looked like Scott Parker meets Vitinha. And get your shirt tucked in and put a tackle in, and then silky and tiny, even though you're in the middle of the park. I was like, yeah, this guy's something. But yeah, everything I've read is great player. Might get eaten up in a league like the Prem.
All right.
That's what I thought about Modric, though.
True. Well, that's true. But he was a scrapper, wasn't he?
And he had thighs the size of most people's skulls.
So it's Groundhog Day at Tottenham Hotspur. Every morning, every time we do a pod, I'm like, what are we going to talk about? Because it's just been the same for the last 6, 7, 8 weeks, more, 2-3 months. I haven't said hello to everybody in the comments. As always, really appreciate you getting involved. Like, subscribe, tell your friends, your family, your enemies. Hype it. I haven't got our hype guy, Adam Nathan, in today. He will tell you how to hype, but something to do with once the pod is finished, go onto your YouTube comment section, swipe right. I think you probably know how to do that from your dating apps. and do something to do with that. It's on your phone. Yes, you have to do it on your phone. What else? Follow us on Twitter at EOGTHFC. I'm doing all the adverts now as we settle into this podcast and people are in the comments. Jake Sanders is with us from, I don't know where he is now, Thailand. He said on our WhatsApp group that he had the best moment of his season this morning because obviously he's a different time zone. Woke up and saw that Arsenal had lost. What a lovely morning for him. And hello to the regulars. Craig Silver has just become a member. Do that and help us out here at the really lovely and busy Launch Pod Studios. Right, let's talk turf more.
Before we do, guys, is Jake on his honeymoon?
Jake's on his honeymoon.
Congratulations for that, Jake. But I got a message from one of my friends. I said, I think he's on his honeymoon. And my friend was like, oh, is Jake going to be on with you? And I was like, no, I don't think so today. That's when I asked you who's on. And he goes, I said he's on his honeymoon. He's like, sends a tweet. He's like, still moaning about Spurs.
he said when he went, he said, I'm not going to do any Spurs. He's been as busy as ever on the Spurs. This is it. You can't give it up. It's just in there, and this is why we do this, and this is why people are in the comments, and this is why Twitters are watching. You can't escape it. And in fact, one of the chats this morning on Twitter was, would you give your season ticket up if it got really bad and the club didn't sell and all this stuff? I just would love to give up, but couldn't, because one day it'll come back around and you've given your seat up and you might not be there for that moment. But look, we went to Burnley and drew 2-2, and that's a positive. As Thomas Frank said, there are some more positive. The 9th game in a row of positive football from Thomas Frank. We lined up thus. Opta got it down here as a back 3. I really thought it was a back 4, but what do I know? It was this anyway. Vicario, Danso, Romero, Van der Ven, Porro, Gallagher, Bissouma, Spence, Odobert, Siemens and Solanke. When it came out, I was like, oh, good God, he's put Jed Spencer left wing again.
It was at left wing.
Yeah.
It wasn't a back 3.
No,
that was a back 4.
Started as a back 4.
In and out of possession.
No,
so it was the 5 out of possession.
Because I wasn't. I got a bit of tap for getting it wrong. Fine against
Dortmund.
I was like, I'm going to keep my eye on this, and there was one of 3 games on Saturday I had all on. Van der Ven was very much left back for me.
I was keeping an eye on it because I was like, I want to see if this is I want to see if Jed Spence is actually left wing.
Yeah.
And Teller's on the bench when Spencer's playing left wing. That's what I wanted to see.
Yeah.
And, because if it was a left wing back, you go, it's not great, but okay.
It's a right back.
Yeah.
But he actually, Van der Ven was left back. Fine. How's it come to the point where for weeks we've been saying Van der Ven left back, do that, make that move. Now that he's sort of got the choice of Van der Ven, Udogie, and Spence, he's gone, now I'm going to play Van der Ven at left back.
But Van der Ven barely made any marauding runs. I know we're all worried about his hamstrings and blah, blah, blah. But if you're going to play Van der Ven left back...
You've got to release him.
Yeah.
You've got to release him.
Again, I don't think it really was. He was not really that wide left the whole time, Van der Ven. It was
I
very
reckon
much...
if you pulled up a heat map of Van der Ven...
I did, and actually, he's a lot more central than I thought, but it's based on touches, and he was coming to receive the ball inside and playing it out to Spence.
Right.
And Burnley barely attacked in the first half, so his heat map is pretty central.
It's very left. Back,
it does look
in
terms of touch maps. It is a 3 at the back. Actually, Spence is almost playing as a number 8 in terms of his average position
until he goes over to the right back position.
Yeah, in the first half.
Yeah.
But the treatment of Tell, I mean, what that guy must be thinking: pulled in and out of Champions League squads, taken off when he's playing well, and Jed Spence is a right back who can't cross, who can't shoot. I actually think Spence had a good game. He did, to the best of his abilities, had a pretty decent game. I've got no issue with Jed Spence. He can play left back. He doesn't need to play left back anymore because we've got Udogie and we've got Van der Ven who can play there. Yeah, we're not blessed with left wingers, but Matisse Tell can do more than enough. Has done nothing wrong in the last month and can do more than enough up against Kyle Walker. Well, Kyle Walker's sitting there thinking, I'm up against Jed Spence.
Yeah.
Walker's been terrible for 2.5 years.
Yeah.
The treatment of Tell is one of the aspects of what Frank's doing that I would be like, sack him immediately. Because unless Tell is abysmal in training, which I refuse to believe. I think I've not seen a kid with such a mentality.
Yeah,
he's
very good attitude.
Absolutely incredible attitude. He has been our brightest sub. Actually has like a good goals minute ratio. I know you can't really judge it. He's coming on as a sub, etc. It's across the season. But it wouldn't be
even if he
way.
doesn't have, he does the right thing. Takes people on, has shots, cuts inside.
And my problem with Spence is he's great defensively. We know that, and he's very busy, and he can get you up the pitch with his running, which we need to be able to get on the pitch because we don't do it very well. But his final action is so rough.
Yeah,
his decision making, his shooting.
But it's not his natural game.
Is not great, and also he's used to crossing from right back. He's not used to.
And I know that we're going to get people coming in saying Tell's rubbish and Kudu was better. All this sort of absolute hyperbole. But whatever your thoughts about Tell, the reality is that he has been one of our better players over the last couple of weeks when he started. And Frank has so much as come out and said that Tell has played well. So what is going on?
I know the problem. He shoots from outside the box.
Yeah,
droppable. Well, Gaz, F. Sank says it here. Tell us 5 goals and 1 assist in 29 appearances. But he's diabolical.
But the other thing is, you look at the fact that we have another game on Wednesday with a stretched squad, a squad that really is at its limits. And you think to yourself, right, well, Gallagher definitely has to play because he can't play on Wednesday. Okay? Tell definitely has to play because he can't play on Wednesday. And then you see Tell on the bench. And it's like, it just defies belief. It defies logic. It defies belief. I can't see any reason behind any of it. And as you rightly say, the treatment of Tell at the moment is sackable in itself. For a guy that came in Frank, with all he improves young players, he's alienating this young talent. He is going to drive him out of the door. Allegedly Tell wants to go. The club's like, please don't go. It could change when Frank goes, but whatever your thoughts on Tell, there's got to be a part of you, even if you don't rate him, there's got to be a part of you that sits there and goes, this ain't right.
Gaz, sorry, James. On top of that, there's a lot of people just going on what you said. He's Ronnie, he's rubbish. For F. Sank, he's rubbish. Okay, he ain't. Matisse Tell is still raw and he ain't great. But you can't tell me you would rather pick Jed Spence at left wing over Matisse Tell. No, I'm sorry,
he's got 3 goals in about 6 to 7 match worth minutes in the league.
There you go. It's not a bad return at all.
No,
exactly. How many assists has he got?
No, he got 1.
None in the league. But again, he's come on as a sub, and it's not easy to come on as a substitute and then make an impact. And he seems to always make a bright impact.
James, it's not. We're not blessed out there.
No,
but
exactly.
Unfortunately, he should be playing away to Burnley at left wing ahead of Jed Spence.
He's a 20-year-old French under-21 international. I don't know if he's got a cap for France. I don't think so. Who any club of a good level in England, back in France, back in Germany, would pick him up immediately. Absolutely immediately. I thought he would have been great to go to Bournemouth on loan after Semenyo gone. And I think you'd see a really bright player.
Probably, because they've got the right mentality manager.
Well, but I think, look, let's not harp on too much about Tel, because at the moment he divides opinion.
I think
most of our team divide opinion. And where I'm at with Tel is somebody that does have the mentality. I think he has got the ability and the talent. And I refuse at this moment to judge any of our players, because you see someone like Michael Carrick come into United, and suddenly Kobe Mainoo's back in the team, dictating, orchestrating. Suddenly they're playing. You know what? I turned on that game yesterday, that United game. I turned it on at half-time, right? So within 2 minutes, I'd sent the group a message saying they have played more triangles than us in 2 minutes than I've seen in us.
We played one against Aston Villa.
Than I've seen all season. Yeah. But they the first 2 minutes, that second half, they went front to back playing triangles up that line. And I went, oh my God, that's what football looks like. Yeah. That's what it should be. Yeah. And then you see their players suddenly taking one touch round the corner, right? Flicking around the corner on a half turn. When did we last see one touch football? And these players have the ability. United players always had the ability. I can tell you, I can promise you, United would not have beaten both City and Arsenal had Amorim been there. But they've got a man who comes in, right, and is saying to these players, you're good players. You lot are good bloody players. Go out there, right? Play your technical football. It hasn't got to be tick-a-taka. They played like United under Ferguson. That's what they looked like, right? Defended resolutely, and when they broke, they went bang. Okay, and you might say they beat Arsenal with 2 great strikes and a dodgy goal from the first one. But the reality is, the 2 great strikes, the way they moved the ball to get into those positions for those strikes. And I was watching Brendan Rodgers speak, not Brendan Rodgers, sorry, Rodgers at Villa. Morgan Rodgers. In an interview the other day with, maybe it was Gabi Abong-Lahore, and the question was put to him, some managers don't like shooting from outside the box because statistically, he said, but Villa score a lot of goals from outside the box. And he was laughing. He's like, but if you look at the positions we create and where we're shooting from, we can score from there. We've got the ability, and these aren't fluky shots. We're creating the opportunity, and that's what United did yesterday. Dorgu has to shoot there. Cunha has to shoot there. Right, this is the right thing to do. And they manoeuvred into those positions and created that yard of space or half yard of space.
When Cunha shot, Man United had 4 players ahead of the ball. Right. So those Arsenal players are retreating.
That's the point.
Because they have to deal with them.
And the interplay it's a great finish from Dorgu, right? But the interplay to get into that position.
I was reading...
but our players can do that, sorry.
That's right. I was reading an article about the long shots and how Frank is one of those coaches that talks about creating, it doesn't matter if it's less chances, it's clear-cut chances for high XG. Yet he, as I've absolutely lost my mind about a number of times, is he wants to create those by crossing massively low volume in chance creation. But that's the point. It was from a couple of analysis guys. I think they mentioned Nathan A. Clark or he was a part of the article, and it was about how managers and coaches in some have taken XG too far, because it's a very useful statistic. And also it shows Morgan Rodgers scoring loads of long shots, having low XG, shows, well, you're brilliant. And if you do that a lot and consistently, you're brilliant. Like if Harry Wilson does this again next season, for example, and a season after that, like Kane and Son always outperform their XG, you're just brilliant. Great, cool, it tells us that. But the best long shot takers in the league are good at long shots.
Do we have anyone?
Simons,
yeah. Yeah, he scored that great goal against England in the Euros, but I've not seen him.
No, but for what he was very good at cutting in onto his right foot, and he's tried it a couple of times. He's just, I think, lacking confidence.
Yeah, well, Tell's got a hit on him, but we don't. He said it after the Bournemouth, whichever game it was. There's a 1 in 16 chance of that going in.
It's like they took the top long shot takers, and it's like they hit the target over 50% of the time.
Yeah,
and if you work a Premier League footballer, most Premier League footballers, the space that Cunha had,
he's hitting the target.
He's hitting the target, and then it's yes, there's still an XG attribute to that, and it's still overperforming it. But he has a much higher chance of scoring it because he's free and he's brilliant at it.
And they've worked him into the position.
So there's no reason to not try them.
Absolutely.
Luke Barrett mentions here, have you seen the Nathan A. Clark screenshot from this morning? It says it all. Yeah,
there's a vacant midfield.
But I did this on one of the games earlier this season. It was an away game. I think it was Newcastle in the league. And I drew a stick man waving because there was just a big gap in the middle. It was the same shot from Burnley. There's no midfield. You're right. We can sign Conor Gallagher, stick fucking whoever in there. If you don't play the right way, it's irrelevant who you've got in there. Just going back to staying on the Burnley game itself. The result itself is poor. Some people are saying it was a really good performance. We had 18 shots, 9 shots on target. Dubravka, you're giggling away. Go on.
No, go on. Go on.
Yeah, no, fine.
Dubravka was man of the match.
Yeah, of course he
made
was.
some great saves.
And wasn't it
Frank
all,
comes out and goes,
wasn't it all a lot better?
Frank comes out and basically says, I've coached a win there, but we drew.
Coached a win.
Yeah, coached a win.
Ironically, we were taking a couple more shots from distance. Odegaard hit a couple.
Fucking Burnley.
Yeah, it's Burnley.
Stitch it to the DVD with the Sunderland first half and the Dortmund first half.
Here's the problem, right? Is Frank coming out and saying, we played well. If you're coming away from Anfield or Stamford Bridge or Old Trafford or the Emirates or the Etihad, right, or even St James's, right, going, played well there, like, we should have won. The performance deserved a bit more. That's got a bit of credibility to it. Coming away from Turf Moor with a draw in the last minute of the game, going, yeah, but we played well. You're playing Burnley, mate.
Yeah.
They haven't won in 14. They're absolute dross, and they were dross, right? Like, anything they did was us literally throwing the ball into the net for them. The first goal was a calamity of errors. You know what the worst thing is about that first goal as well? I'll come back to Frank's comments in just a minute. As soon as Vicario plays that to Romero...
By the way, it was a terrible... I know it was a poor control from Romero, but the pass
was horrendous.
This weird angle and height.
He absolutely wellies it at him, number one. Romero's probably like, what the hell? Yeah. Right, so I feel a bit sorry for him. But even then, they've got a throw and you're thinking, all right, we agree. But I knew. What Spurs fan, when that went out, went, right on half-time, we've gifted them a throw deep inside our half. If this doesn't go in, something is wrong. Right? We all knew it was going in. That's how bad it is.
I didn't know your voice could get that high.
That's how bad it is at the minute, right? So for him to turn around and go against Burnley, we were good though. Mate, if that is your levels, if that is what you are judging at, and this is the other thing, this whole comment, the last 8-9 games, we've had moments when we're good. Again, let's think about those moments when we were good. When we were losing to Bournemouth,
chasing games.
We played well.
We didn't play well. We just chucked it in some corners and some crosses.
Every time we've been down, we played well. Against Villa, 2-0 down, we went at them a bit. But every single time we've got back into a game, every single time, we haven't actually looked like going on to win. And one of two things has happened. Either we've played out a dull draw after getting back into the game, or because the other team's just shut up shop and said, right, enough of this now. We're just regaining control. Or the other team goes, all right, let's go and beat them. And they have.
Or Villa.
West Ham, Bournemouth.
Yeah.
And they have. This is not coincidence. We get back into the game and the other team goes, all right, let's step it up again. And they go and beat us.
Yeah. There was a brilliant comment just gone by, I think it was Pilch, saying Frank is a long ball merchant masquerading as a data guy. And
that's a very good point.
Something like that. And I was just like, that is just perfect way to describe him. Absolutely playing percentages.
But what did we expect? Because I've said it a few times. I feel like we got a bit clouded, or the wool pulled over our eyes with how good he was at Brentford. They maybe were just a match of the day team. We watched them beat, United, Arsenal, all these Liverpool they've beaten at home under him. But actually, were they that good, or did he maybe sell Wissa and Bremer and Tony because they scored too many goals? Like,
I thought we'd get a lot from our wide players. I thought we'd get a lot from someone like Tal, because he just the type of forwards he had were all.
But he had he did have much better forwards than us.
He did, but they weren't when he first had them.
Right.
Burmo was rough. Watkins when he had Watkins was rough. They could arguably can attribute where they are to Frank's coaching and Brentford themselves.
Yeah.
And I thought we'd see that, and he seemingly changed what kind of wide players he likes, and then his idea of attacking subs is just throwing as many strikers on the pitch as well.
Yeah.
He doesn't do anything else.
Yeah.
One thing, keeping the tinfoil in this hat for a second, in our training videos, I don't know if you guys ever watched them, but half of them used to just be rondos. Yeah. And I'd be like, I'm fed up of watching a rondo. I swear whenever I watch a training video, there are no rondos.
Nope. And you're right.
like rondos, and then do you remember that Ange had a version of the game? I think Mason did. I think all previous, even Conte Mourinho, you'd see a rondo, and then they had that game where there was like 3 rondos going on or 2 rondos, and you had to send the ball over and then sprint, and they were like really intense, and you're like, oh, that looks like fun, gamifying some coaching session. But also, what does a rondo do? Teach you triangles and how to get the ball and play it quickly,
Exactly
1-2 touch.
Exactly that.
And hey, I don't want to say we're not coaching that, but we're obviously not.
We're obviously not coaching that, are we? You're right. We don't see. Used to see it even in warm-ups, right? Even in warm-ups, pre-games.
Oh my God, our pre-match warm-up is hilarious. It's like us when we were kids, crosses and corners.
Yeah,
they are. I get to the ground 10 minutes before the game normally, but if I go with my son a little bit early so we can get some food, so I go up at 1:30 or whatever, half an hour before kickoff. They are crossing corners like we used to as kids because we didn't want to do anything else.
Yeah. That's it. You don't see any rondos. You don't see any of that. You're quite right. It's a really good point. And you don't see them in the training videos. And, you know, that's what we always used to see. And it just, like I say, this point about Michael Carrick's come in, and the first thing I noticed about against City and against Arsenal is suddenly these players look confident on the ball. They look like they want to go forwards. They look like footballers. Our players at the moment, they don't look like footballers, but they are.
Is Carrick just a new manager bounce?
I think it's a bit, but stylistically, it's very different.
Yeah.
And he's clearly got the technical. I think one thing, turning Dorgu into a left winger has been wild.
A left-footed player on the left.
See, I don't get your obsession with this. I don't really care left foot or right footer. It's about what you do.
Right,
I do think
balance.
It does. I think that's where you get your fullbacks. Then you might have someone that's more of an inside forward. But I think no matter what, whether you're left-footed or right-footed, you need to be able to go outside and inside as a winger, regardless. Yeah. Doesn't matter what footed you are. And then you need to be able to get a good ball into the box and take a good shot. And if you're cutting inside, Dorgu was in an area where technically if he was a right footer, it would have benefited him more than swiveling his body awkwardly and getting his left foot on it. To
touch of the Yeboahs, that.
Absolute unbelievable finish.
Yeah.
But I think Carrick has a style. He's implemented it. There's probably a little bit of, you know, refreshment with the squad and new manager bounce. But my friend's a Borough fan, and he's like, Carrick is a lot his assistants. His assistant does a lot of the like tactical work. He has a framework how he wants to play, and then he knows football, and he's got that man management. And I think that's
hang on,
a good split. It's a traditional split.
But that's what Alex Ferguson did. Alex Ferguson was very much that. He left a lot of his coaching to the assistant manager and the coaches, and he sat above it, and this was the framework. And
maybe Cochrane's rubbish.
That's what that's what Carrick is driving at. And you look, whether it's going to continue or not is kind of irrelevant. What is clear is these United players, and the point I've been trying to make is these United players are far better footballers than they have shown at any point in the last 2 or 3 years.
Correct.
And they've done that in the space of a couple of weeks under Carrick. So where I'm at with Frank is the idea that, you know, people are saying we're getting caught into a relegation battle. I look at it and I'm like, we're 8 points off relegation. We're 7 points off European places. Nobody's talking about...
Which way are you looking, up or down?
But nobody's talking about us getting into European places. And I'm wondering this, right, is the reason people aren't talking about us getting into European places at the moment is because of Frank. Because under Frank, nobody can see how this improves. And yet, I look at it and I see the squad as the highest underperforming squad in the league at the minute. And what I mean by that is I don't see a squad in this league at the minute that is performing for what you would have expected of them at the levels that we are.
Oh, absolutely.
So I feel like if we were to get another manager and it be not even necessarily the next big guy, but we could have had a Carrick, right, and get this team playing football, I do think that actually those 7 points are much more closable than the 8 points from the likes of West Ham and whoever else beneath us to get to us.
Words come about. I think it was a TalkSport clip with Spurs fans on it, I think. It might have been something else. They talked about ambition. I saw someone called this out as well, and I think they made a brilliant point. I can't remember who it was. We are ambitious. We spend a fortune.
Yeah, we don't spend... We've talked about this, about the wages and
so
blah,
much
blah.
money. And our wage, well, with their wage bill, supposedly, that's... Now Levy's gone, it's out the window, that we will pay higher wages when we need to.
We'll see about that.
We will see, yeah. But like, I mean, signing a 32-year-old on 106k a week
Yeah,
is
okay,
definitely a step in that direction. And Gallagher is definitely...
Well, what's the ambition? Go on, because I'm not sure I agree.
Like, we spend a load of money. We're clearly trying to buy our way out of things and to buy success. The money spent isn't the problem. I just think I'm in the pits with Frank, And I am reluctant to call for another director of football to go because I think you need consistency somewhere. I
He's
think
not the guy,
Langer's been a travesty.
But the problem is, this is the concern, okay, is Vinay Venkatesham wasn't that involved with football decisions in his time at Arsenal. He was more on the finance side, football operations and so on, but he wasn't the one that was there saying, we need to give Arteta time.
No, apparently he did.
He may have been involved, but it wasn't his decision. That was more to Edu and the other people around him advising. So he isn't somebody that was directly involved in those decisions.
Yeah.
So when the top football guy in your club, and this is fundamentally true at this point, when the top football guy in your club is Johan Langer, it doesn't fill you with tremendous confidence.
My mate is a Villa fan. Was laughing at me when we got in there.
Did sign some decent players.
He did, but I don't know why. My friend just kept calling him a little weirdo with his little weird mate. And I think it's Rob McKenzie who does a tweet every now and again. He just kept calling him a little weirdo all the time.
He doesn't. There was a really awkward.
I heard that a lot.
There was an awkward meeting between him and Gallagher. He doesn't inspire me with confidence in the players that he's brought.
But he is the top football guy at the club.
Yeah, that's a problem.
And that is a concern. You know, when Paratici was there, at least that was a guy with longevity, somebody that does know football.
You could call him a football man.
A football man.
I'm not saying Langer isn't, but he doesn't give it that aura of.
No.
I think there's just some silly decisions. So Bogle and Gray, right? Great prospects, like both of them. One's for the future. Should probably have only bought one. Really? Let's be real. Now we've clogged up our midfield with so many numbers.
Yeah.
Maybe just by Bogle. And not by Gray. It's decisions like that, and then the continued signings of style and type in different positions where we seem to have gaping issues and everyone's calling for the same thing. And you like to think, you know what, maybe fans and people at home can't see it. People are more intelligent nowadays.
Oh, 100%.
And I can't imagine in the club someone isn't saying we should go do this, go buy this.
It was probably Paratici, and he's going.
And the data team. How often do we hear about the data teams offering players? And I know, so I've got a couple of friends who work in data analysts, and people offer players all the time in the industry to their higher ups or whatever, and they just go nah, or they ignore it. And sometimes they do take it on because they have to do like big presentations and decks and stuff.
Yeah, James, just being Johan Langer, just being in football doesn't mean you're going to get it right every time. And I said last week, you need to have a manager, a man who scouts the players, and a person, a woman, who buys the players and somebody pays for them. We've got far too many cooks. And let's go on to the sacking of Thomas Frank and why he's still here. We don't know who's making the decisions. There could be 3 people saying they want him out, or 4 people saying they want him in. Is he still here because they can't all agree to sack him, and the person who does make that decision is on the inside, as in keep him in, maybe Vinay, maybe it is that man? Or is it because there's no one else? Or where you want him out? Why is he still here, in your opinion?
All of the, we all see different levels of ITK, that horrible abbreviation that has a hold on our lives. But it doesn't, 5% of it will be true, maybe 2%. But nothing coming out of the club sounds aligned. It sounds like Vinay and Langer want to keep him on. There's a worry about sacking him. They don't want to do it. Maybe there's rumours they don't want to do an interim. There's rumours that they've tried to get interims. There's rumours they're trying to line people up. There's rumours that they're going to give him time to turn it around. The rumours that want Pochettino at the end of the season. It sounds like noise, endless noise. And ultimately there's definitely on the board people involved in Tottenham. Of course there's people in there that want him sacked. But the people that are making those decisions, which fortunately, finally, by the sounds of it, we can't say it for sure, but the football guy, the guy that should make the decisions in Langer, wants to keep him on.
With his mate.
Yeah.
But
what would you do now if you were? What would you do? You'd pull the trigger,
Me?
and who would you hire?
Oh God, I don't know who he'd hire. Carrick would have been a good interim. People call him for Robbie Keane as an interim. I don't know about that.
Robbie Keane's not going to leave his job at Ferencváros.
I don't blame them slightly for being cautious about not having someone lined up. Everyone's calling Xabi Alonso. Xabi Alonso can just go, no.
Yeah.
Look what I did at Leverkusen.
No, he's not coming.
Slot's going to get sacked and he's going to go to Liverpool. That's probably going to happen.
Yeah.
Or you could, like, I've seen lots of calls for McKenna. I saw someone tweet, "I'll get McKenna until the end of the season." Why would McKenna leave?
No one's leaving a job.
Ipswich?
No one's leaving a job to take over
interim
Spurs
role.
for 6 months.
No.
But I don't think any of that is a reason to not sack him, because
Give it Cochrane. Honestly, he's meant to be amazing. We don't know if he's
But this is going to get poisonous. And what I don't understand was
how much more poisonous can it get? They're booing the bloke off every week.
Well,
we've taken
I think Sunday against City is.
But if it wasn't,
it's almost the
why is that
game.
worse than West Ham?
Well, it's not. It's not. I mean, but you know, where he got slightly lucky with West Ham was that West Ham won in the last second, right? Like that's where he got slightly lucky. But you know, what should have happened should have been that West Ham should have been 2 or 3 up at half time, and they could have been a 2 or 3 up at half time. And if that had happened, then I don't think it'd have got out the stadium.
Gaz, my concern is that West Ham game was the first time this board went, "Oh my God, we might actually be in trouble."
Well, regardless of that, why should City matter? Well, because City is kind of like almost the perfect game for Spurs fans, because
you're going to get some tap for this.
Yeah, of course I am. We're going to go back. We're going to go back to the Ange conversation, right? I don't believe that we're going down. I don't believe we're in a relegation battle.
Okay,
people can say what they like about it. I just don't see it. I think we will pick up a minimum of another 8 to 10 points across the rest of the season. And we just will, because you know, as bad as we've been, we already have. So we will pick up 8 to 10 more points, and the gap will just be insurmountable for those below us. So
I think 40 keeps. I know West Ham are on 20. Are they going to get 20 points? Probably not.
Right.
Actually,
so
you're probably right.
I think 38 points. We're on 28 at the minute, right?
Yeah.
If you're telling me that we're not going to get 10 points, I mean, I just can't. Yes, we've got a hard run of fixtures coming up, and yes, we might be right in it on the surface after those fixtures, but you've still got Leeds at home, Everton at home, Wolves away, Fulham away, Palace at home. I know we've lost to absolute crap, but I just personally, I don't believe we're in a relegation
battle. We go back to the
battle,
City
right?
game.
So the City game for me is kind of a perfect scenario where I wouldn't mind, personally, if we didn't lose that game. It would be less painful to lose that game than any other game. Let's say that, right? It just would be. And if we lost that game with a real tonking that, you know, allowed us to not dig out the players, but from the 60th minute onward, really, really, really go at Frank, then yeah, great, perfect. People saying see you away at Wrexham next season. I mean, Wrexham are on the verge of the playoffs, so yeah, they could be in the Premier League. Good luck to them. But
you're getting tap again.
Of course I am, right? I mean, you know, people don't want to hear, "Oh, you want your team to lose," but no, I don't want us to lose. Of course I don't. But I also don't want Arsenal to win the league, and I don't believe we're going down, and we're not going to challenge for Europe. As much as I say we're closer to the European spots, we're not going to get there as long as Frank is manager. So let's get a thumping against City, because it's kind of inevitable. And then the ground really can be toxic, and we can make his position genuinely untenable. That's where I'm at. And if people want to come at me for that,
I would sort of be slightly more on your side if we were 10th in the league and going nowhere. I obviously am a pessimist by trade. I am looking over my shoulder. I agree. I don't think we're going down, but we can't win a football match at the moment. Yeah, West Ham have won 2 in a row, but that was against us and Sunderland, who really are not good away from home.
You know how they say winning when you're playing rubbish is a sign of a winner. I don't think Burnley game was, the first half at least, was the worst half that we've had. I think it was all right. But I feel like we're getting to a point where it's the opposite, losing while playing all right. And that feels like you're creeping to relegation.
Yeah.
And I think the rhetoric around Spurs fans going, "We won't get relegated," is dangerous.
I don't
because
think we're playing
it does allow us to. I don't think we're playing all right generally, but I think there's been slightly better performances more recently, but we're still losing.
I agree with that.
But
agree with that.
Yeah.
We are. There's a dangerous rhetoric going, "We're Tottenham, we won't get relegated," and I think that's really dangerous.
No. I'm not saying we're Tottenham, we won't get relegated. I'm saying between now and the end of the season, with 16 more games or however many it is, right? If we're really talking about being unable to get 10 points, then we're in a much deeper position than you know. But the idea that we won't get 10 points, I know everybody wants to panic, and everybody, you know, and none of this is to say that things are okay. It's not. But I just think we'd get 10 points just by being on the football pitch. Like, I just think
this is my problem, guys. This is what I think the board are thinking. This is why we've all sat here since November and gone, we might have a problem here come January. They've probably thought, we're Tottenham Hotspur, we won't be in trouble, we're Tottenham Hotspur.
No, that's not what I'm saying, right? I just think that the league is that bad. The general quality is that bad.
We can't beat any of them.
I think I think there'll be a team in the bottom three where it's more akin to times of old, where like someone 35 points gets relegated.
Yeah,
West Ham. It's one place. It's one. Look, we're talking about one place here. West Ham are probably going to need 7 wins to stay up.
Yeah.
Does that boost the algorithm?
That's 2. That's 2. So I did it earlier. I was like 6, 7 match. Oh.
but this is the point, right? So when it comes to sacking him, what I don't understand is Johnny Heitinger's come in, and actually since he's come in, you've seen the links to Andy Robertson, to Curtis Jones, and these are players who seemingly actually want to come to Tottenham. Now that sort of says, hang on, they must have some fair amount of respect for Heitinger. They know the guy; they've played under him before, and it looked to me like, and I go back. I think I go back to the comments that Heitinger's agent made, where it sounded to me very much like this is the guy that's coming in for Frank to be the caretaker until the end of the season. Now, you may like it, you may not. It doesn't really matter. I think the point is,
Ajax, I think he's.
But I think the point is, after Sunday, right? You've got a week before the North London derby. Okay, it is the perfect time.
Don't we play Man United after? Is it Arsenal after that? Doesn't it go Man City, Man United?
Man City, Man United, Newcastle.
Arsenal's 3 games time after that.
Right, okay, fine. But you've got a week to United. Okay, I think it's the perfect time after City to sack him there and then, and just start afresh with Heitinger. You've got a week on the training pitch. Just wipe it fresh and go.
I don't know, Gaz. When we talk about relegation, I've thankfully never tasted it, but I'm starting to wonder whether this is how you get relegated. Obviously, not winning football matches, but boardroom unrest. Probably not boardroom unrest, just uncertainty as to what's going on up there. I think we're quite lucky. Look, we won 3 of our first 4 games. Those 9 points are really important right now. And have won how many since then? 1, 2, 3, 4. 4 of our last 19, Gaz. I mean,
we're joint second worst in the form of the classic last 6 games.
It goes beyond that.
Only Palace.
Yeah, well, and they look absolutely finished. I don't think we will go down, but I'm obviously not looking up at we are, whatever it is, 7 points.
The point that I make about looking up is not that I think we will finish in the European spots. We absolutely won't, as long as Frank is manager. But my point is, this is an underperforming squad, and if somebody else was to come in and just get us playing in the way that United has,
of course,
Carrick invigorated
we should
United,
we should be going up the table.
You should be looking up. And I think if Frank does go, then I think the whole conversation changes. The reason we're talking about a relegation battle, the reason people fear a relegation battle, the reason people think we're in one is pure, plain and simple, in my view, not because they don't have faith in this squad. I don't think anybody at the beginning of this season, no Spurs fan at the beginning of this season, looked at this squad and went, we're going to be in a relegation battle. None of us, right? So it cannot be that people are now looking at the squad going, we aren't good enough. It can only be that people are still looking at us saying we're in a relegation battle because they can't see us winning under Frank. And that I can agree with. On the flip side to that is get Frank out, get anybody else in, right? Not anybody else, but get somebody half decent in, and actually we could and should be looking up.
In a league where Fulham have got 34, Brentford have got 33.
Exactly.
Villa have got 46. We should be around the 30. We should be where 100%. Fulham are, 35, 36.
And I can't figure out if they're not, somebody like Xavi, somebody's here, Anthony Lynch, 7313, has put Xavi Hernandez. It's a funny one because there's a lot of jobs gone that haven't gone to him. So I don't know if something's known inside the game, but on paper, he looks like the kind of manager, and he has said in the past that he wants a long-term Premier League project. If we're not going for the likes of him, I just do wonder if they are literally sat there on their hands going, we're waiting for Pochettino.
Absolutely. That's exactly where I'm at. That's where I'm at. Yeah.
Xavi Hernandez, I read a couple of things up on him when we had a couple of tenuous links, and he plays good football, but he has his players really far apart, big distances, and I would not trust, even with exceptional coaching, a lot of our players.
Oh no, he's talking about him playing in midfield for Spurs.
Fair. Don't have him straight away. He solved a lot of problems.
Yeah. Look, I'm not sure that our next permanent manager is out there at this moment, and allegedly they only want to fire him if they can get a permanent manager. I just think that's wrong.
I think they're just trying to scrape through now.
I think just get rid of him, give it Heitinger until the end of the season, okay? Just see how we go.
Give it Giggsy.
Just give it Heitinger to the end of the season, see how we go, right? And then, it's kind of inevitable. As soon as the US go out of the World Cup, Pochettino will be our manager within the next week. I'm pretty sure of it.
I reckon we could announce it before the World Cup's happening.
His contract's up. I was wondering that because they're not going to announce it in July when they lose to Colombia in the quarterfinals.
Well, you remember Julian my favourite, Lopetegui, who got sacked from the Spanish...
The night before the tournament
started because he announced that he was going to Madrid, was it?
Yeah.
Yeah, that's weird.
Yeah. So he announced he was going to Madrid. Look, I think it's inevitably going to be Poch. I think it should be kept under wraps until the US are out of the World Cup.
That's mid-July.
So be it.
No, we can't drag on that long.
Or at least it has to be done and he's involved with squad building and sales
and
etc. You can't.
Fine, whatever. But the reality is that's definitely what I can't see any other reason.
Perez on an interim.
Look, Gaz,
exactly.
Look, there's a few people here. The Sonic Pelican, Poch didn't do well at Chelsea.
Disagree.
It took time.
Completely disagree.
It took time, and I'm stunned they sacked him.
So let's read this comment. So, the Sonic Pelican, Poch didn't do well at Chelsea, and it's a dumpster fire in the US. No more Kane, Son, or other talismanic player. I hope this doesn't come back to destroy us with him. Now, look, I disagree with Chelsea. I think it took time with Chelsea. And people might also turn around and say, but he had a world-class player in Cole Palmer that dug him out. Well, again, I've got no issues with that either. You build your team around your best players and you find your way to get them in the game and let them be them.
How many times was Christian Eriksen absolutely clutch for us?
Correct.
In the last minutes of games?
But here's the thing with Pochettino and Chelsea. He came in, he actually did stabilise it. It looked a little bit like the job he did at Spurs where he got out the mercenaries in the first place. It took a bit of time, but then they started getting on board with his ideas. And actually, Chelsea were the most informed team towards the end of the season that he was there. I was shocked that they sacked him.
He gave Maresca a pedestal to build
correct.
upon.
I was delighted they sacked him because I was actually saying I feared Chelsea under Pochettino next season. And then they sacked him. I was like, that's a result.
I agree. I think with Poch as well, I was talking to my friend Cal. Shout out to Cal. Good lad.
Is he listening?
I hope so. He does from time to time.
You need to upgrade that to always.
Yeah, you should. Cal was saying, and I completely agree with him, I've said the same, that Poch coming in kind of almost has to happen in two ways. If it goes well, brilliant, it's gone well.
If it doesn't, we can move on.
If it doesn't, we never talk about him coming back ever again.
And listen, I'm not convinced that Pochettino is the one. However, and this is crucial.
Get the bowl of lemons out. Get one right there.
This
for every pod till the end of the season.
But this is absolutely crucial. What Poch will absolutely do, and nobody can deny this, is exactly what should have happened in the aftermath of Poch. Pochettino will lay a groundwork and a foundation for a DNA and a way of playing that Tottenham Hotspur will want. And whether Pochettino gets us the success and the trophies that we want, he absolutely will put in the work ethic, the fitness, the style of football, the pride in the shirt, and all of those sorts of things. And that should be a springboard from which we can go forwards. And I think at this moment in time, if we are sat on our hands waiting for Pochettino, yes, it hurts. And I don't know that Pochettino is the right man necessarily to bring us success, but I can't disagree with the appointment. I just don't think under Pochettino it will get any worse. It can only get better. And he will put us on the right trajectory.
He came in, he was playing big club football at Southampton, came in and he sort of didn't reinvent football, but he was quite new on this. He was quite inventive, and the way we played and the pressing and all of that, everyone's doing it now. He's coming into the same club in terms of we're a basket case and the same people are there, bar Levy, pretty much. It's the same method of not buying players and not spending wages, blah, blah, blah. He doesn't have Kane. He doesn't have Eriksen. He doesn't have Dele. He doesn't have the great team that he built.
I'm worried about he doesn't have Moussa Dembele.
But whatever, it's not the team he inherited. He won't be able to build the same team. For me, I think it's an emotional return. I don't think emotional returns go too well.
He's managed loads of players since.
Yeah, exactly. And if what you're saying, you know, what he's got Udogie, who for me is better than Danny Rose. He's got Van der Ven and
I don't agree
Romero.
with that.
If Doggy learns to cross it in the air, then he is better than Danny Rose.
I think
Danny Rose
Udogie's
for 2 years
ceiling- I think
was
Udogie's
top 3
ceiling
left
is
back in the world.
I think Udogie's ceiling is much higher than Danny Rose. Listen, I think this is a talented squad, but regardless, okay, if you're saying that Pochettino's football now, everybody else is doing it, fine, but he's still got Chelsea as they were the informed team for the last 10, 15 games of the season. They were storming up the league.
I would say, again, though, we get Poch. I think he'd really like Basuma, weirdly. But again, get whatever manager we get, and I hate to be a broken record, but thinking about Poch and his teams that he's had, he needs a great central midfielder who's great at everything.
Well, whoever comes in needs a great central midfielder.
But thinking about Poch's teams where he's had Moussa Dembele was the key with us. He had Enzo and Caicedo. I think he had both of those while he was at Chelsea, who are very good midfielders.
Yeah.
And at PSG, I mean, you could just go through.
And I'll tell you the other thing.
He did play, I think, Danilo a lot at PSG, which he's fine. But either way, he'll need a key midfielder. But I think he'd love tell his young French son.
Yeah,
come on.
I think
Could be.
I think the one thing if Pochettino did come back that he would need absolutely 100% is a really good director of football and not a Johan Langer. And where I come from with that is a criticism of Pochettino from what I hear is that he was the one that really drove the signings of Lo Celso and Ndombele. That was him. They were the ones that he wanted.
They were with the director of football. Was it Paul Mitchell or someone else at that time?
But look, regardless, I think going back to Frank, I think the only thing that I can think of as to why we're sat on our hands at the moment is because we can't attract a manager that we would want ahead of Pochettino.
Yeah.
And by that, you're looking at Alonso. If Alonso turns around and says he comes, I think Frank goes tomorrow, right? And I think we forget about
that.
Of course,
Absolutely.
He's going to Liverpool. There is no doubt about that he's obviously going to Liverpool. I don't want Arne Slot. I actually think
it was the guy that doesn't like transfer windows. Absolutely right.
I think Slot has been the inverse of Pochettino at Chelsea, and what I mean by that is I think Slot inherited something and sort of just drove on the coattails of that for some time. I think if Klopp had stayed, he would have won the league last season. I'm not saying Slot did a bad job. He obviously did a good job. He tweaked things, but the foundation's already in place. I think you're seeing the true Slot now. Okay. So I don't personally want Slot because I know that was mentioned earlier. There aren't many options out there.
And that's probably why we're trying to schlep this out until the summer. But we've got to go. We've got to wrap this up. We've got another game Wednesday, which is a big game. I mean, I would have swapped the Dortmund win for a win against Burnley. Personally, whatever. But we can finish in the top 8 of the Champions League, which will get us avoiding the punishment round.
We get a Premier League-less run to the end, to the Champions League final. We win
it. We don't. But it's a big game. Frankfurt are so bad. So bad. They were bad last year. They're worse this year. It's important to finish in the top 8, mainly because we get to have a little bit of a rest in February. How important is the Champions League to you right now?
I'll hold my hands up and say I was emotional after the West Ham game and thought that Dortmund would beat us because we're rubbish. I'm going to go back to my true feelings and roots of football on the continent. It's dreadful. It's weak. Oh, it's a great watch. Like them against each other is a great watch, but these teams just are generally no match for the Premier League, which is why last season I was convinced that Spurs would storm through the Europa League, which is why last season a dreadful United dispatched Lyon, who are probably the best team outside of Villa and Forest. I mean, Forest are struggling in the Europa League, but Villa will win the Europa League this season. Lyon won't win it, I don't think. Football on the continent is weak, and Frankfurt are poor, and they were poor last season, and that's when they had Etikike, whatever his name is, and whoever else. They were better last season than they are now, and we beat them. So
did draw 0-0 with them a couple of years ago.
So we should go there and get the minimum of a draw.
It's a really tough place to go.
Yeah, but
they don't care. They're out the Champions League.
We've not conceded a goal yet. We've never conceded a goal there.
It's so negative
game right now that I just concede nothing but an absolute capitulation.
I mean, Frankfurt here apparently they've just lost 3-1
at home
to
to
Hoffenheim.
Hoffenheim are third, to be fair, which shows how bad the Bundesliga is.
Exactly right. Yeah. So I sat here and said Dortmund would beat us. I hold my hands up. I was emotional after West Ham, but if I'm true to myself, I've said for a long time, football on the continent cannot compete with the Premier League.
Yeah.
It just can't. So
sorry, guys, you've been compared to David Pleat with your pronunciation.
you know, I studied languages. You'd never know it.
English isn't your first language.
So yeah, I think we'll beat them, and everybody go, oh, what a wonderful job Frank's doing. Let's see what happens against City.
Importance of the Champions League quickly for you?
I just think wins are so key. I think any
winning.
win we can get just to try and get a bit of momentum.
Yeah.
I think even though Burnley was crap, there was some stylistic choices and positives that you could argue came from the Dortmund game, even though we can't buy a win in the Premier League.
Wing.
Yeah, Spencer left wing, but I think Odebear's really come into a little bit of form. It's only a couple of games, but nice to see a young player
and Siemens
that we want. And
getting
Siemens
the ball through the lines to Siemens a little bit more.
It looks like he's adapting. Siemens got stronger, playing quicker, not dwelling as much, realising he has not got as much time.
Yeah.
There are some positives if I have to search for him. But I just think wins. And Champions League wins is just nice to have. Tottenham Hotspur should be in Europe and trying to
We're not going to be in Europe next
and that, do you know what, James? I was meant to bring up that point. Tottenham Hotspur are meant to be in Europe, and we're going to go 26, 27 is going to be pretty much nailed on the season.
Let's aim for a Conference League place.
No, Tottenham Hotspur should be in Europe, not in the Conference League. I draw the line there. Right. One thing I forgot to mention is birthday of a very special person today. Bill Nicholson's birthday today. Gary's looking very confused at the comments.
Kevin Stormington, guys, I really think you are being overly dismissive of the performance against Burnley. At least it's an improvement. Is your anti-Frank Bass affecting
There's no bias.
your objectivity?
Kevin, I beg you, go watch some other football teams. I went and watched 2 matches in Italy and was so
you're like, why
thankful.
can't I watched a championship game the other day. I can't remember what it was. It's like, my football team doesn't play like this.
Yeah,
I mean, before
some other teams.
Before we went 1-0 up,
I watched the United Arsenal game last night.
But before we went 1-0 up, I was messaging saying this is pretty bad. It wasn't good. I think objectively what you've seen against Burnley is a couple of chances. The keeper's made a couple of saves and you're gone, that's an improvement. Mate, it's Burnley. It's Burnley.
Sorry. You're on your own. There's like 1 or 2 people who still think Frank is the man, but
go on, get back
he's
to Bill.
not. It's Bill Nicholson's birthday. It's my wife's birthday. It's Justin Cochrane's birthday. It's Jose Mourinho's birthday, and it's Brendan Rodgers' birthday. So all the great bosses.
Is it Nuno's as well?
No. So there we go. But happy birthday to Tottenham legend Bill Nicholson. I wonder what he'd be thinking right now. In terms of this podcast for the rest of the week, I forgot to book a space at the wonderful Launchpod Studios after post game on Thursday. So we haven't got a show Thursday. There might be a show Friday, but I don't know. Look out on the socials. Like I said, we'll put it up on our Twitter at EOGTHFC. Like, subscribe, tell your friends, your enemies, hype it, do all of those things. Quick prediction for Frankfurt away.
2-2.
Nice.
I think we'll beat them.
Yeah, I think we'll beat them. I do. They
Scores?
can't.
2-0.
Yeah, we'll score a couple of goals. They are so bad at the back, and I do hope we finish in the top 8. I really do. And we'll hopefully see you Friday. I don't know. Keep your eye out, James. Thank you so much for joining us. You can buy that. Not this actual. James is not going to sign. Not going to sign this one and put it on. Maybe that can be our next giveaway. You can sign that bucket hat. But you can buy the merch at An Echo of Glory.
This one specifically, unwashed.
As George Pena says, like, hype, and subscribe. We'll see you soon. Gary, you'll probably be back next week at some point.
Yeah.
But we will see you soon. I don't know if James is listening. It might have to be me that ends the stream, but I don't have the button. See you soon, and up the Spurs.